The station erupted into chaos within an hour. Delegates from every species demanded emergency council sessions. Communication channels flooded with messages. Some called for investigations. Others called for resignations. A few even called for criminal charges against those involved in the mining operation. Jiho stayed with the Vorthak while all of this happened. They had moved the creature to a medical bay that was larger and more comfortable than the holding cell. Hana worked tirelessly, treating wounds that should have been cared for weeks ago. The Vorthak allowed her to work, though its eye never left Jiho for long. "It really does trust you," Hana said as she applied a healing gel to a particularly deep cut. "I have never seen anything like this. The speed at which you bonded with this creature is remarkable. Maybe it just recognized that I wanted to help," Jiho said. He sat on the floor near the Vorthak's head, close enough to touch but giving the creature space. "My grandfather always said that animals know who means them harm and who does not. Maybe it is the same for intelligent species." Speaking of intelligence, Hana pulled up her datapad. "I ran some scans while it was resting. Jiho, this creature's brain structure is incredibly complex, more complex than some council species. It is not just intelligent. It might be as smart as we are, just in different ways. Can you prove that?" "I can try, but it will take time and cooperation." She looked at the Vorthak. "Would you let me run some tests? Nothing painful, just things to measure cognitive ability." The Vorthak made a low rumbling sound. Jiho was not sure if it was agreement or just acknowledgement, but Hana seemed satisfied. She began setting up simple puzzles and tasks, things designed to test problem-solving skills. The Vorthak passed every test. It understood cause and effect. It could learn from observation. It even showed signs of abstract thinking. "This is going to change everything," Hana whispered, reviewing the results. "If we can prove that Vortaks are sentient beings, not just animals, then what happened at the mining colony was not just cruelty. It was genocide." The door to the medical bay opened. Captain Nari entered, looking tired but satisfied. "The council just held an emergency session," she said. 4 members have resigned, including Velrin. 6 more are under investigation. The mining company has been shut down, and Earth Command is sending a full diplomatic team to review our membership terms in the council." "That is good news," Jiho said. "What about the Vorthak?" "That is more complicated. The council wants to keep it here for now, under observation. They claim it is for research purposes, but really they are just trying to control the situation. However, I convinced them to allow human oversight of its care." Nari smiled slightly. "Which means you get to keep playing nanny to a giant alien creature." Jiho looked at the Vorthak, who was watching this conversation with what seemed like interest. "I do not mind." "Good, because there is more." Nari pulled up a holographic display. It showed a star map with several systems highlighted. "We have been searching council records for any other Vortaks in captivity. We found 12 of them, all in similar situations, all labeled as dangerous. All scheduled for execution or already dead." Jiho felt his stomach turn. 12 more? "We're 12 more. We contacted their locations immediately and demanded stays of execution. Earth Command backed us up with diplomatic pressure. All 12 are now in protective custody, and we are arranging to have them transported here." "Here? To this station?" "No, we found a better place." Nari changed the display to show a green and blue planet. "This is Talvara 4. It is a protected world with no sentient inhabitants. Perfect climate, plenty of vegetation. Earth Command is negotiating with the Council to designate it as a conservation area specifically for Vortaks." Hana stood up, excitement in her eyes. "You want to release them there? Let them live free? That is the plan. But first we need to make sure they can survive, that they can recover from what was done to them. And we need to learn how to communicate with them properly." Nari looked at Jiho. "That is where you come in. You have already established a connection with this one. We need you to help with the others." "I am not a xenobiologist or a trainer," Jiho protested. "I just talked to it, treated it with kindness." "Exactly. And that is what the others will need. Not scientists studying them, not guards watching them. Just someone who treats them like people." Nari's expression softened. "You showed us that these creatures are not monsters. Now help us prove it to everyone else." Over the next 3 weeks, Jiho worked with each Vorthak that arrived at the station. Some were easier than others. A few were so traumatized that they barely responded at first. But slowly, Patiently, Jiho built trust with each one. He learned that they communicated through a combination of sounds and body language. Low rumbles meant contentment. Sharp clicks indicated curiosity. A specific posture with their head lowered was a sign of respect or greeting. The first Vorthak, the one Jiho had started calling Ash because of its dark scales, became his constant companion. It followed him through the station whenever possible, protective and loyal. Other crew members were nervous at first, but they soon realized that Ash was gentle and less threatened. Hana made breakthrough after breakthrough in her research. She proved that Vortax had their own language, complex social structures, and even what appeared to be cultural traditions. They were not animals. They were people. The council had no choice but to acknowledge the truth. A formal apology was issued. Reparations were promised. New laws were written to protect intelligent species from exploitation. But laws and apologies did not bring back the Vortax that had already been killed. They did not heal the trauma of the survivors. On the day they prepared to transport the 13 Vortax to Talvara 4, Jiho stood with Ash in the cargo bay. The creature was healthy now, its scales shining, its wounds healed, but Jiho could still see the wariness in its eyes, the memory of pain. "You will be safe there," Jiho said quietly. "No one will hurt you anymore. You can live the way you were meant to live." Ash lowered its head and gently pressed it against Jiho's chest. The gesture had become familiar over the weeks. It was how Ash said goodbye or thank you or sometimes just hello. "I will visit," Jiho promised, "as often as I can. And we will keep searching for others. We will save everyone we can find." Hana approached them, a sad smile on her face. "The transport is ready. We should go." The journey to Talvara 4 took 2 days. When they arrived, Jiho was amazed by what he saw. The planet was beautiful, covered in forests and grasslands. Rivers cut through valleys and mountains rose in the distance. It looked like paradise. They landed in a clearing near a large forest. When the cargo doors opened, the Vortax hesitated. They had been in cages and cells for so long that freedom seemed foreign. Ash was the first to step out. It moved slowly, cautiously, testing the ground beneath its feet. Then it took another step, and another. The other Vortax followed one by one. They spread out across the clearing, exploring this new world with a mixture of fear and wonder. Jiho watched Ash move toward the tree line. The creature paused there, looking back at him one last time. Then it made a sound, a low and beautiful rumble that seemed to carry across the entire clearing. The other Vortax answered, their voices joining together in something that might have been a song. "They are saying goodbye," Hana said softly, "or maybe thank you. It is hard to tell." Jiho raised his hand in farewell. Ash returned the gesture with a slight bow of its head. Then it turned and disappeared into the forest, followed by the others. Back on the station, Jiho filed his final report on the Vorthak situation. Captain Nari read it and smiled. "Earth Command is very pleased with your work," she said. "They want to create a new position, a liaison officer specifically for cases involving potentially sentient species that the Council has classified as dangerous. They want you to lead it." "Me? But I am just a lieutenant. I do not have the experience." "You have exactly the experience we need. You looked at a creature everyone else called a monster, and you saw a person. That is not something you can teach in a classroom." Nari handed him a data pad. "The Council has agreed to the new protocol. Any species labeled for execution will now be reviewed by a human advocate first. No more rushed decisions. No more hidden evidence. What will we call it?" Jiho asked. "The Ash Protocol," Nari said, "named after the first Vorthak you saved. The one that proved everything we thought we knew was wrong." Jiho thought about that dark holding bay, about yellow eyes staring at him from the shadows. He thought about a creature so scared and hurt that it should have attacked anything that came near. But instead it had chosen to trust. "I will do it," he said. "Whatever it takes, I will make sure no other species suffers like the Vortax did." Nari nodded. "I know you will. That is why Earth Command chose you." 3 months later, Jiho stood in the council chambers again. But this time he was not an observer. He had a voice. He had authority. And when a delegate proposed executing a creature from a newly discovered world, Jiho stood up and said one word: "No." The delegate looked at him in surprise. "You have no right to interfere with council decisions." "Yes, I do. Under the Ash Protocol, any proposed execution must be reviewed by human advocates first." We will examine the evidence. We will meet the creature. Captain Nari listened to everything without interrupting. She watched the videos, heard the audio recordings, and read through Doyen's financial documents. When they finished presenting their evidence, she sat back in her chair and closed her eyes. "This is bigger than I thought," she said finally. "If this gets out, it will not just embarrass the Council. It will shake the entire galactic government to its core." "Then you will help us?" Jiho asked. Nari opened her eyes and looked at him. There was something in her expression that Jiho had never seen before. Not anger exactly, more like cold determination. "I will do better than help you," she said. "I am going to make sure everyone sees this. But first we need to keep that Vorthak alive long enough for the truth to matter." "The execution is scheduled for dawn," Hana said. "That gives us about 16 hours. "Not anymore." Nari pulled up her communication panel. "I am using my authority as captain to delay the execution. I will claim there is a medical concern that needs to be investigated first. That should buy us 12 more hours, maybe a full day if we are lucky." "Will the Council accept that?" Doyen asked. "They will have to. Medical protocols override execution orders. It is an old law, one they cannot ignore without looking suspicious." She sent the order, then turned back to them. "But that is not enough. We need to move the Vorthak off this station entirely. Once it is in human custody, the Council cannot touch it without starting a diplomatic incident." "How do we move it?" Chiho asked. "That creature weighs several tons. We cannot exactly walk it through the station." "We do not walk it. We transport it. I will authorize a cargo ship for human operations. You will need to create a reason to move the Vorthak from the holding bay to the cargo area. Once it is on the ship, we launch immediately." Hana thought for a moment. "I can do that. I will file an emergency medical request. Claim the Vorthak needs to be moved to the research bay for immediate treatment. Doyen can fake the authorization codes. And I can manipulate the security systems," Doyen added. "Create false patrol routes, loop the camera footage. Make it look like nothing unusual is happening." Nari nodded. "Good, but you need to understand something. Once we do this, we are committed. The Council will call it theft. They will demand we return the Vorthak immediately. Earth Command will back us up, but it will create serious political problems." "I understand," Jiho said. The others nodded in agreement. "Then we move at midnight. That gives us time to prepare and gives Doyen time to set up the security systems. Meet at the holding bay at 2300 hours. And Jiho, stay away from that creature until then. If someone catches you visiting it now, they will know something is wrong." Jiho wanted to argue, but he knew she was right. Instead, he spent the afternoon helping Doyen prepare. They mapped out every corridor between the holding bay and the cargo area. They identified every security camera, every guard station, every potential problem. At 2200 hours, Nari called them to her office again. "We have a problem," she said. "Ambassador Velron moved up the execution. It is now scheduled for 0400 hours. That gives us 4 hours, not 12. Can you delay it again?" Hana asked. "I tried. She overruled me. Claimed there was new evidence that the Vorthak was becoming more aggressive." Nari's jaw tightened. "She knows. I do not know how, but she knows we are planning something." "Then we move now," Jiho said. "Tonight. Right now. We are not ready. We will never be ready. But if we wait, that creature dies. We have to try." Nari looked at each of them in turn. Then she stood up. "All right. Doyen, get to the security station. Hana, prepare the medical transport. Chiho, you are with me. We are going to walk into that holding bay and walk out with a Vorthak." They moved quickly through the station. It was late enough that most workers were in their quarters, but early enough that the night shift was still getting organized. They passed a few guards, but no one questioned Captain Nari's authority. The holding bay doors opened to reveal the Vorthak exactly where Jiho had left it. But something was different. The energy chains were tighter, pulled so hard that they cut into the creature's scales. Fresh blood dripped onto the floor. "They hurt it more," Jiho said, his voice tight with anger. "After we left, they came back and hurt it more." "Focus," Nari said. "Hana, can you release those restraints?" Hana approached the control panel. "Yes, but it will take a few minutes. These are medical-grade energy chains. They have safety protocols to prevent accidental release. Do it as fast as you can." While Hana worked, Jiho moved toward the Vorthak. Its eye opened, finding him immediately. The creature made a soft sound, almost like a greeting. "I know," Jiho said quietly. "I know it hurts. But we are going to get you out of here. Just hold on a little longer." The Vorthak's eye closed again. Jiho could see its sides moving with each breath, faster than they should be. It was in pain. Serious pain. How much longer, Hana? Nari asked. 2 minutes, maybe 3. A sound echoed from the corridor outside, footsteps, many of them moving fast. Nari's hand went to her weapon. That is not good. The doors burst open. Ambassador Velrin stood there, along with 6 security guards in full armor. Behind them, Jiho could see more guards filling the corridor. Step away from the creature, Velrin commanded. Her voice was cold and sharp. You are all under arrest for attempted theft of council property. That creature is not property, Jiho said. It is a living being. It is a dangerous animal that the council has sentenced to death. You have no authority to interfere. Velrin gestured to her guards. Take them. The guards moved forward. Nari drew her weapon, but she was badly outnumbered. This was going to end badly. Then the Vorthak moved. Despite its injuries, despite the chains cutting into its flesh, it pulled itself to its feet. The chains stretched and groaned but held. The creature roared, a sound so loud and deep that it shook the walls. The guards stopped, raising their weapons. Velrin smiled. You see? This is proof of its dangerous nature. Thank you for demonstrating why it must be destroyed. Wait, Jiho said. He stepped between the guards and the Vorthak. Do not shoot. Move aside, human. No. Velrin's expression hardened. You would die for this creature? If I have to. The holding bay was silent except for the Vorthak's heavy breathing. Everyone seemed frozen, waiting to see what would happen next. Then something unexpected occurred. The Vorthak moved again, but not to attack. Instead, it reached out with one massive claw and gently, carefully wrapped it around Jiho. Then it pulled him backward, tucking him against its body. It was protecting him. The creature that was supposed to be mindless and violent, the monster that everyone feared, was shielding the human who had shown it kindness. Jiho looked up at the Vorthak's face. Those yellow eyes stared down at him, and he saw something in them that made his chest tight, not just fear or pain. Something deeper, something that looked almost like trust. Get an image of this, Nari said quietly to Hana. Right now. Hana lifted her datapad and captured the scene, a human standing in the protective embrace of a creature that was supposed to kill him on sight. You are all still under arrest, Velrin said, but her voice had lost some of its certainty. This changes nothing. It changes everything, Nari replied. She tapped her communication device. Doyen, did you get that? Got it, Doyen's voice came back. Sending it out now. Every screen on this station. Every communication channel. Everyone is going to see this. What have you done? Velrin demanded. We showed them the truth, Nari said. About the mining colony. About the eggs. About everything you tried to hide. All around the station, screens flickered to life. In crew quarters, in common areas, in the council chambers themselves. Everyone saw the footage. The destroyed eggs. The torture. The lies. And they saw the image of the Vorthak protecting the human who had tried to save it. Velrin's face went pale under her exoskeleton. You have committed treason against the council. No, Captain Nari said calmly. We committed justice. The guards looked uncertain now, glancing at each other. They had seen the footage too. They knew what it meant. In the corridor behind Velrin, Jiho could hear voices. Angry voices. Other delegates, other species demanding answers. Demanding to know why they had been lied to. The council will decide your fate, Velrin said, but she was already backing toward the door. Yes, Nari agreed. They will. But not the council you controlled. The real council. The one that is about to ask you some very serious questions about where all that money went. Velrin fled, her guards following. Within moments, the holding bay was empty except for the humans and the Vorthak. Did we just win? Jiho asked. Not yet, Nari said. But we just bought ourselves some time. Hana released those chains. The energy restraints fell away. The Vorthak stumbled, weak from its injuries. Jiho moved to support it, and the creature leaned against him, trusting him completely. Let us get you somewhere safe. Jiho whispered. You are free now. Doyen's fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up screens faster than Jiho could follow. Lines of code scrolled past, mixed with images and video files. The corrupted files were not actually corrupted, Doyen explained. Someone just made them look that way. It is a basic trick, really. You change the file headers to make the system think the data is damaged, but the actual information is still there, hiding underneath. Can you recover it? Hana asked, leaning closer to the screen. Already did. Started working on it as soon as you called me. Doyen pulled up a video file. This is from the mining colony, 3 hours before the official attack footage begins. Watch carefully. The screen showed the interior of a mining tunnel. A dozen workers in heavy suits were drilling into the rock face, their equipment making loud grinding noises. Everything looked normal at first. Then one of the walls crumbled. Behind it was not more rock. It was a chamber dark and vast. The workers stopped their drilling and moved closer to investigate. Their helmet light swept across the space, revealing something that made Jiho's breath catch. Eggs. Dozens of them, each one about the size of a human torso. They were dark and smooth, arranged in careful circles on the chamber floor. A nesting ground, Hana whispered. Oh no. In the video, one of the workers laughed. The sound was tinny through the old recording, but clear enough. Look at this. We found a nest of those things. Command will want to see this. Another worker approached one of the eggs. He reached out with his mining tool, a heavy drill meant for breaking rock. Do not do it, Jiho said, even though he knew it was pointless. This had already happened. The past could not be changed. The worker pressed the drill against the egg. It cracked. Dark liquid spilled out and something small and black fell onto the ground, twitching weakly. The workers laughed harder. Then another one moved forward with his drill. Turn it off, Jiho said. You need to see the rest, Doyen said quietly. The workers destroyed 3 eggs before the adult Vorthak appeared. It came from deeper in the cave system, moving fast despite its size. It did not attack the workers immediately. Instead, it tried to put itself between them and the remaining eggs. But the workers panicked. They opened fire with their mining lasers, tools that were never meant to be weapons but could cut through rock easily enough. The Vorthak roared, a sound of pain and rage that echoed through the tunnel. Only then did it attack. Doyen stopped the video. The lab was silent except for the soft hum of computers. They destroyed its children, Hana said. Her voice shook slightly. They killed them and laughed about it. There is more, Doyen said. He pulled up another file. This is from the retrieval team's internal communications, the parts they did not include in the official report. Audio played over the speakers. A rough voice said, Target is secured but aggressive, requesting permission to use pain compliance. Another voice, calmer and more distant, responded, Permission granted. Whatever it takes to keep it contained. What followed made Jiho sick to his stomach. The retrieval team had used weapons designed to cause pain, devices that were banned under council law for being too cruel. They shocked the Vorthak repeatedly during the transport back to the station. One team member joked about how long the creature could scream before it passed out. They tortured it, Jiho said, his hands clenched into fists. For hours, while it was already injured and chained. And then they lied about it, Hana added. She stood up and paced across the lab. They cut the footage to make it look like the Vorthak attacked without reason. They hid the eggs. They hid everything that would make people sympathize with it. Why? Jiho asked. Why go through all this trouble? Doyen pulled up another screen. That is where things get interesting. The mining colony was officially listed as extracting basic minerals. Iron, copper, nothing special. But look at their actual cargo manifests. The list that appeared was full of words Jiho did not recognize. Rare elements with long chemical names, materials marked with warning labels and security classifications. These are controlled substances, Hana said, reading over his shoulder. Some of these are banned for private mining. You need council authorization to extract them, and that authorization costs millions of credits. But if no one knows you are extracting them, Doyen continued, then you do not need authorization. You just take what you want and sell it on the black market. Jiho understood now. The Vorthak was not the problem. The problem was that an investigation into the attack would reveal the illegal mining operation. Exactly. And if you dig into who owns that mining colony, you find shell companies and hidden investors. But trace it far enough and you find names, important names. Council members who would lose everything if this came to light, including Ambassador Velrin, Hana guessed. Doyen nodded. She is the 3rd largest investor in the parent company. She stood to make billions from this operation. The pieces fell into place in Jiho's mind. The rushed trial, the refusal to let anyone examine the Vorthak, the quick vote for execution. They were not trying to protect the station from a dangerous creature. They were trying to destroy evidence before anyone could find the truth. We need to take this to Captain Nari, Jiho said. She can bring it to the human delegation, maybe get Earth Command involved. That will take time, Hana said. Days, maybe weeks. The Vorthak dies at dawn tomorrow. Jiho checked his watch. It was almost noon. They had less than 20 hours. Then we do not just show the captain, he said. We show everyone. Every delegate, every worker, every species on this station. Make it public so they cannot ignore it. That is dangerous, Doyen warned. If we accuse council members of corruption without absolute proof, they will bury us. Our careers will be over. We might even end up in prison. Do we have absolute proof? Jiho asked. Doyen and Hana exchanged glances. Then Doyen nodded. Yes. Between the video footage, the audio recordings, and the financial documents, we have enough to prove what really happened. But Jiho, you need to understand. Once we release this information, there is no taking it back. The council will come after us with everything they have. Jiho thought about the Vorthak, chained in that dark room. He thought about its children, destroyed while their parent listened to them die. He thought about those yellow eyes full of fear and pain. I do not care, he said. We release everything, now. Wait, Hana said. Before we do this, you need to see it again. The Vorthak. If we are going to risk everything to save it, we need to be absolutely certain it is not actually dangerous. I already told you. I know what you told me. But you saw it once in the dark from far away. I need you to be sure. Really sure. She pulled out a datapad. I managed to get authorization to deliver medical supplies to the holding bay. It is not much, but it is an excuse to be there. Come with me. They left the tech lab and made their way to the lower levels. As they walked, Jiho felt his heartbeat speeding up. He was about to see the Vorthak again, but this time with someone else present. This time in the light. The holding bay looked different during the day. The lights were brighter, showing every scratch on the walls, every stain on the floor, and the Vorthak looked even more massive than Jiho remembered. But it also looked worse. Its scales were dull and cracked. Deep wounds covered its body, some still bleeding slowly. It lay on its side, its breathing shallow and labored. It is dying, Hana whispered. Even if they did not execute it, it would not survive much longer. The Vorthak's eye opened as they entered. It focused on Jiho immediately, and something changed in its expression. The fear lessened. Just a little, but enough to notice. Jiho approached slowly, his hands visible. Hey there, he said softly. I came back. I brought help this time. The creature watched him. Then its gaze shifted to Hana, and the tension returned to its body. It remembers you, Hana said, surprise clear in her voice. In less than a day it learned to recognize you specifically. Does that mean something? Yes, it means this creature is intelligent. Much more intelligent than the council claimed. She moved closer, though more carefully than Jiho. I am going to check your wounds now. I will not hurt you. I promise. The Vorthak did not move as Hana opened her medical kit, but its eye never left Jiho, as if asking him to confirm that this was safe. It is okay, Jiho said. She is a friend. And somehow, impossibly, the Vorthak seemed to understand. It relaxed slightly, allowing Hana to approach and examine its injuries. As Jiho watched Hana work, treating wounds that should have been cared for weeks ago, he made a decision. They would save this creature, no matter what it cost, because some things were more important than careers or safety or following the rules. Some things were worth risking everything for. Jiho spent 3 hours in that holding bay. He did not move from his spot on the floor, and neither did the Vorthak. They simply watched each other, two beings trying to understand something that neither could put into words. When Jiho finally stood to leave, his legs were stiff and cold. He walked backward toward the door, keeping his eyes on the creature. Just before he reached the exit, he remembered something. He pulled a ration bar from his pocket, the kind that human soldiers carried. It was not much, but it was food. He placed it on the floor about 10 feet from where he had been sitting. Then he backed away and left the room. The door closed with a hiss. Jiho leaned against the wall outside, his heart still racing. He had just done something incredibly stupid. If the Vorthak had attacked, no one would have known until they found his body in the morning. But it had not attacked. That had to mean something. Jiho made his way back through the quiet corridors, avoiding the patrol routes he had memorized. He reached his quarters just as the station's artificial sun began to brighten, marking the start of a new day. He had barely closed his door when someone knocked on it. Jiho's stomach dropped. Had someone seen him? Did the guards know where he had been? He opened the door slowly. Standing outside was Dr. Hana Choi, a xenobiologist who worked in the station's research department. She was also human, one of only 30 on the entire station. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun and her eyes were sharp with intelligence and anger. "Are you insane?" she hissed, pushing past him into the room. "Do you have any idea what you just did?" Jiho closed the door quickly. "How did you know?" "I check the security logs every morning. It is part of my job. I saw that someone accessed the holding bay at 2 in the morning, and only 3 people on this station have clearance for that area. One is the captain, one is Ambassador Velrin, and one is you." She crossed her arms. "So I will ask again. Are you insane?" Jiho sat down on his bed, suddenly feeling very tired. "Maybe, but I had to see it for myself. It could have killed you. That thing tore apart a mining station. It injured a dozen trained soldiers. What made you think you would be safe?" "I do not think it wanted to hurt anyone," Jiho said quietly. He looked up at Hana. "Did you watch the original footage? From the mining colony?" "Of course I did. Everyone did. No, I mean the original footage. Before the council edited it for the trial." Hana frowned. "There is no original footage. What we saw was everything they had. That is what they want us to think." Jiho stood up and walked to his desk, pulling up his datapad. "But I found something last night before I went to the holding bay. Look at this." He showed her the screen. It displayed a file directory from the mining colony's main computer. Most of the files were marked as transferred to council records, but a few had a different label. "Corrupted data. Unable to recover." "So?" Hana said. "Data gets corrupted all the time. Look at the dates. These files are from the day of the attack. They show 3 hours of footage that somehow got corrupted right before the council review. Does that seem like a coincidence to you?" Hana stared at the screen, her expression changing from anger to something else. "Curiosity, maybe. Or concern. What are you saying?" "I am saying that I think there is more to this story than what the council told us. And I think that creature down in the holding bay is not the monster they claim it is." Hana was quiet for a long moment. Then she sighed and sat down in Jiho's desk chair. "Okay, let us say you are right. Let us say there is missing footage and the council is hiding something. What do you want to do about it?" "We are humans. We have no power here, no voice. If we start making accusations, they will just kick us off the station." "I know. That is why I need your help." "My help? To do what?" "To prove that the Vorthak is not what they think it is. You are a xenobiologist. You study alien species. If anyone can figure out the truth about this creature, it is you." Hana laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Jiho, even if I wanted to help, I cannot just walk into the holding bay and examine the Vorthak. I would need authorization from the council, and they have already made their decision. The creature dies at dawn tomorrow." "Tomorrow," Jiho repeated. "That gives us almost a full day." "A full day to do what? Break into secure files? Convince the council they were wrong? Save a creature that everyone believes is a killer?" She shook her head. "This is impossible." Jiho looked at her steadily. "Do you believe it is a killer?" "What?" "You studied the footage. You read the reports. Do you truly believe that creature is just a mindless monster?" Hana opened her mouth to answer, then closed it again. Her eyes drifted away from his, focusing on something in the middle distance. Jiho could see her thinking, turning the question over in her mind. "No," she finally said so quietly he almost missed it. "No, I do not. The attack pattern was wrong. Mindless creatures do not show that kind of strategic thinking. They do not specifically target equipment, while avoiding living beings unless absolutely necessary. And the wounds on the retrieval team, they were defensive, not aggressive." "Exactly," Jiho said. "So help me, please." Hana stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the station orbited a beautiful blue planet that no one was allowed to visit. It was protected territory, home to a developing species that the council watched but did not contact. "If we do this," she said slowly, "and we are wrong, we lose everything. Our positions, our reputations, maybe even our freedom. And if we do nothing," Jiho countered, "an innocent creature dies." Hana turned back to face him. "You really believe it is innocent?" "I spent 3 hours watching it last night." "It was scared, Hana, not angry. Not vicious, just scared." He paused. "I grew up on a farm. I know the difference." Hana studied his face for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay, I will help you. But we need to be smart about this. We need proof, real proof, before we can do anything. Where do we start? With those corrupted files. If there is hidden footage, we need to find it. And I know someone who can help with that. She checked her watch. His shift starts in 2 hours. Meet me in the tech lab at 800 hours. Who is he? Another human. A technician named Doyen. He is a genius with computers and he owes me a favor. She headed for the door, then paused. Jiho, do not go back to the holding bay. Not yet. If someone catches you, this whole thing falls apart before it even starts. I was not planning to. Good. She opened the door. And get some sleep. You look terrible. After she left, Jiho did try to sleep, but every time he closed his eyes, he saw those yellow eyes staring at him from the darkness. He heard that soft whimpering sound. He thought about the ration bar he had left on the floor. Had the creature eaten it, or had it been too scared to move? At 7:30, Jiho gave up on sleep. He showered, put on a fresh uniform, and made his way to the tech lab. He arrived 10 minutes early, but Hana and a young man were already there, hunched over a computer terminal. The young man looked up as Jiho entered. He had sharp eyes behind wireframe glasses and quick nervous movements. You must be Jiho, he said. Hana told me you are trying to save a Vorthok. Either you are very brave or very stupid. Maybe both, Jiho admitted. Doyun grinned. Good, I like brave and stupid. It makes life interesting. Now let me show you what I found. The council chamber was the largest room Jiho had ever seen. 12 different alien species sat in a wide circle, their voices echoing off the metal walls. Some spoke in clicks, others in deep rumbles that made the floor vibrate. Jiho stood near the back, his human uniform feeling small and plain compared to the colorful robes and armor of the other delegates. He was here as an observer. That was all humans were allowed to be. His species had joined the Galactic Council only 3 years ago, and they were still treated like children who needed to learn how things worked. On the center screen, a creature filled the display. It was massive, at least 15 feet tall, covered in black scales that looked like pieces of night itself. 6 powerful limbs ended in claws that could tear through metal. Its eyes were yellow, bright against the darkness of its body. The Vorthok must be terminated, Ambassador Velrin announced. The mantis-like alien stood on her back legs, her front claws gesturing at the screen. It is too dangerous to keep alive. It has already killed 3 workers and destroyed millions in equipment. Jiho leaned forward, studying the image more carefully. Something felt wrong about this whole situation. We have tried everything, another council member said. This one was covered in blue fur and had 4 eyes. The creature cannot be controlled. It attacks anyone who approaches. Our best scientists say it has no intelligence, only rage. Then we vote, Velrin said, her voice sharp and final. All in favor of immediate execution? 11 hands, claws, and tentacles rose into the air. Only the human section remained still. Jiho looked at his captain, a woman named Nari who had silver hair despite being only 40 years old. She shook her head slightly. They were not allowed to vote yet. It is decided, Velrin announced. The Vorthok will be destroyed at dawn tomorrow. This meeting is finished. The other delegates began to leave, talking among themselves. Jiho stood up quickly and walked toward the front of the chamber. Ambassador Velrin, he called out. May I ask a question? The mantis alien turned, her large eyes focusing on him with what looked like annoyance. What is it, human? I would like to examine the creature before the execution. To learn from it. My species studies dangerous animals and we might gain valuable knowledge. Velrin made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. Your species has been in the council for barely 20 cycles. You do not understand what true danger looks like. The answer is no. But surely there is no harm in... The answer is no, Velrin repeated louder this time. Several other delegates stopped to watch the conversation. You humans think you can befriend everything. This is not one of your Earth pets. This is a killer. It feels nothing but rage. Now stop wasting my time. She walked away, her metal feet clicking on the floor. The other delegates followed her, some glancing at Jiho with what he thought might be pity. Captain Nari approached him, her face serious. Let it go, Jiho, she said quietly. We cannot change their minds. Not yet. But, Captain, did you see the footage? Something does not add up. I saw it. But we have no power here. Come on. We have other duties. Jiho followed her out of the chamber, but his mind kept returning to the image of the creature. That night, back in his small quarters on the station, he could not sleep. He kept thinking about the Vorthak's eyes. He had grown up on a farming colony on Earth. His family raised animals, everything from chickens to cattle to the larger beasts that humans had brought back from the edge of extinction. He knew what rage looked like in an animal's eyes. He knew what fear looked like, too. The Vorthak had not looked angry in that footage. It had looked terrified. At 2 in the morning, Jiho made a decision. He put on his uniform and left his quarters. The station was quiet at this hour, with only a few guards patrolling the long hallways. He knew the patrol routes by heart now. He had been studying them for weeks, though he had not known why until this moment. He used his security card to access the lower levels. As a liaison officer, he had clearance to most areas of the station. The holding bay was in the deepest level, far from where any delegates might accidentally wander. The hallway leading to the bay was dark and cold. Jiho's breath made small clouds in the air. His heart was beating fast. What he was doing could get him kicked off the station, maybe even banned from the council forever, but he had to know. The door to the holding bay opened with a soft hiss. The room beyond was enormous, at least 50 meters across and 30 meters high. The walls were made of reinforced metal, scarred with deep scratches that looked fresh. In the center of the room, held by thick energy chains that glowed blue in the darkness, was the Vorthak. It was bigger than Jiho had expected, much bigger. The screens had not done it justice. It lay on its side, its breathing slow and heavy. Even from the doorway, Jiho could see old wounds covering its body, some still bleeding slightly. He took a careful step forward. Then another. The Vorthak's eye opened. It was yellow and bright, like a small sun in the darkness. The creature's head lifted slightly, and it made a sound deep in its throat. Jiho froze. His training told him to run, to get out before he got hurt. But something else, something deeper, told him to stay. "Hey there," he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. "I am not going to hurt you. I promise." The Vorthak stared at him, its body tensed, muscles bunching under those black scales. But it did not attack. It did not roar or thrash against its chains. Instead, it made another sound. Softer this time, almost like a whimper. Jiho's chest tightened. He knew that sound. He had heard it from injured animals back home, from creatures that were in pain and did not understand why. "They're going to kill you tomorrow," Jiho said, still speaking quietly. "They think you are a monster, but I do not think you are. I think you are scared." The Vorthak's eye followed him as he moved slowly along the wall. Jiho kept his hands visible, his movements slow and predictable. He had learned long ago that scared animals needed to see that you were not a threat. After what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, Jiho sat down on the floor, still keeping his distance. The creature watched him, its breathing gradually slowing to a normal rhythm. "I am going to help you," Jiho whispered. Somehow. I promise, he did not know how yet. He did not know if it was even possible. But sitting there in that cold room, watching a creature that everyone else had condemned to death, Jiho knew one thing for certain. He could not let them kill it. Not without trying to save it first, even if it meant risking everything.